Ras was a name I gave myself when I was playing with reggae bands. That's kind of common in Rastafarianism to have the title Ras as a prefix. It has different meanings, king or head. I wasn't necessarily thinking in terms of king because that's not my... Politically, I wasn't seeking to be a king. I didn't need any subjects, but it also means child of the sun as well too, so that was more appropriate. This is Alice Coltrane. It's in the tradition of naming the instruments that you play. It's a jazz tradition. Blues too, all kinds of music actually. I think B.B. King's guitar was named Lucille. And it's in rock music, pop music, jazz, blues, you know, it's you affectionately give your instrument a name. They say, oh, Ras is a free jazz player. Which is true. I'm proud of that. But I just like to remind people, just don't rely on the term totally. Because you're really just experimenting with the music, doing different things. I was born and raised in the East New York section of Brooklyn. Lived in East New York. In 1978, there was some family changes, and then I went to live with my grandparents in Amityville, Long Island, which was always an enjoyable experience. I always loved going out there and spending time with my grandparents, especially my grandfather. He worked for the Transit Authority. But as soon as he got home, he would play records, you know. So we had a lot of that activity with each other. And on the weekends we would do things. We would buy records over at the mall in Long Island on the weekends and stuff. You know, he'd be giving me coffee, treating me like an adult, you know, driving my grandmother crazy. Stop giving that boy coffee, you know, etc., etc. But that was, he passed in 2000, 99 or 2000 he passed. And I've been coming to terms with that, you know. I've been coming to terms with that pretty much. You know, you can't get upset about things you can't control. And, you know, but nothing was wasted. He lived a very long, full life, so... Some sort of regular employment. You know, I was working as a teacher's assistant with music, painting houses, you know, passing out the #2 pencils in an adult literacy place, all kinds of things, you know, which is good, you know, because I had no intention of being bitter about things, about the music scene. Can't get this gig or etc., you know, so it's just better that way if you have another way of surviving. But I do have a lot of paying music gigs too, you know. It's just in jazz it alternates a lot. It depends on what the gig is. This one pays a lot, the next one is for the door, so you know, it's a back and forth. I mean, it's like that for the real masters of this music, so it's you know, continuing issue. doesn't always tell you what somebody's playing. Because, you know, to be avant-garde jazz is incredibly diverse. There's so many ways to be that. You're still using composition, you're still using rhythm, you're still using chord changes, or sometimes you're not using any of that at all. You know, so it's infinitely diverse. Cecil Taylor said in the 60s, which is a quote that still stands up today. He said, it's not a question of form as opposed to non-form, but a question of recognizing different kinds of order.